and welcome back to the Dreamcast. I am your host, Denise Walsh. I combine science, scripture, and stories that will inspire you to dive deep, break through your own personal glass ceiling, and design a life of your dreams. Welcome back to the Dreamcast. In today's episode, my guest helps people connect the dots between the mind, body, and spirit. Knowing that they are all fully connected and fully integrated, he helps people understand the true root cause of their health issues so they can break free and experience total transformation. He's been working for over 20 years, combining all three, and I'm really excited for you to hear from him today. Please welcome Dr. Stan Gravely.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm honored that you asked me to come on board.
Well, I've just heard bits and pieces of your story, and I am really excited to dive deep into what you do now, but also what got you here. So tell us first, what is your PhD in?
Well, we got a PhD in counseling. It was called a Nouthetic Counseling degree when I graduated. It was basically like a spirit, mind, body counseling degree that was emphasized working with the spiritual as well as the physical, the mental, and everything else. And I have a pastoral background, went off to Bible college, got my Bible degree, got a bachelor's in theology, started working for a Christian children's home, and I was the program director there, and they were encouraging me to go back to school and get some counseling experience. And so we started working on our advanced degrees while we were at the children's home, and it was a excellent opportunity for me to be able to combine work and education and all of that at the same time, which is how we ended up with a counseling degree.
Now, when you say we, who do you mean by that?
Well, it's always me and Jody. Jody and I are a team. We've been married for 39 years, so we're a we package.
Okay, so you guys went through schooling together?
Well, we met in college. Jody actually was dating my roommates. Was my second year at Wingate College. My roommate was actually dating Jody, and they were childhood sweethearts or teenage sweethearts. And I quit school my second year. First time I went to college, I quit school, went back home. And Jody had gotten me a date with one of her girlfriends, and we had double dated. And then about a year later, after I dropped out of school, I called her up and they came up to visit me. And it was really interesting. Halfway through the night, I'd gotten a date for Jody, but halfway through the night, I was dating Jody. I jumped from one horse to the other horse midstream in the date, so to speak, and that began our over 39-year journey now. So everything we've done together. And when I was going to college, the first time, before all this computer technology, I was writing everything freehand, and then Jody would type it for me. So we kind of worked through until we finally got us, my first computer that I could do spell check and type on was a Tandy 1000 that had a hard drive, and we went from floppy drive to hard drive. Yay! It shows you a little bit how old I am. We've been a team. We've just done everything together for 39 years now.
That's awesome. So you got your PhD in Christian counseling. You were working in a children's home.
Yep.
What happened next?
Well, we had gotten interested in health and nutrition a little bit along this way. In fact, when I was at the children's home, a friend of mine was teaching me how to lift weights the right way. I'd lifted weights in high school, where you just go around the gym and lift weights. But he actually taught me how bodybuilders actually built their bodies, and we were studying Joe Weider, who is the father of basically modern bodybuilding today. So I was learning how to do the Weider systems and working out, got interested in health and nutrition. I'd always battled weight all my life. I started gaining weight when I was a teenager, and I pretty much, was always going up and down with the weight all my life, and I'd try all the dietary programs. I mean, if something was on TV or somebody was selling it and peddling it, had something to do with weight loss, I was interested because, I'd always struggled with being overweight, and I didn't really like being overweight. It just wasn't something that I enjoyed, looking in the mirror and seeing, fat Stan. I just didn't enjoy being fat and overweight and all that kind of stuff. And so when he started teaching me some things, how to do weightlifting, I started losing weight. And about that time was when I was asked to pastor my very first church in a rural part of Virginia. So I went to go pastor this church. And while we were there, my neighbors were really big in health and nutrition. And it told me about this preacher down in Rogersville, Tennessee, that was teaching the Hallelujah Diet and helping people overcome sickness and disease. And so I was just immediately interested in it. So we ran down there, listened to the seminar, came back, and I adopted the Hallelujah Diet. And that kind of started our health and fitness journey on a truly big time level, so to speak, because I'd already been working out, and now I was learning how to eat clean and know what to eat and what not to eat. And then at that time, while we were so excited about it, I mean, within just weeks, I was losing the weight, but the following year, all the colds, the year before, I'd had all these colds and flus and viruses, bronchitis, tonsillitis. Every time something came through, diarrhea, influenza, you name it, I was catching it that winter. So I just didn't have an immune system, period, I don't guess, because when you're just drinking diet, I was drinking Diet Cokes and Diet Dr. Peppers, drinking sweet tea and coffee and not drinking water and eating a traditional American diet. It's kind of hard to stay healthy and not be sick all the time. So when I did tweak our diet at that point for the first time in our life, where we really got serious, 39 years later, I may have had two or three colds at the most, and no more than that. And so I pretty much don't have, I used to get tonsillitis once a year, used to get bronchitis once a year, used to have spring allergies, fall allergies. I used to get all the codes, all that stuff. And now we don't get any of those things. I mean, we pretty much say sickness and disease free. Jody had this, what do you call it, during the menstrual cycle, she would start getting the cyst and things in her lymph system and be very painful. I used to kid around, the Wicked Witch of the West flew in on the time of the month, when she came in. She knew it. But, we didn't know anything how to correct it, but once we cleaned up the diet and got rid of the sugars and the refined carbs and all of that, she never had any more problems with that. It was eliminated, and she never has them again unless she goes on a weekend and eat some things that she shouldn't, then the sugar really does affect her very much now, very quickly. And she got rid of IBS. And so she had lived all of her life with IBS. So within, adopting a new health and nutritional lifestyle, we got excited. And we made it part of our ministry. We wanted people to know you don't have to be sick. You can eliminate sickness and disease. You can look good and feel good inside and out. You don't have to suffer from all the diseases of the world, And we were working with Dr. Lorraine Day, a medical doctor out in California. She was mentoring me and training me, a naturopath, Dr. Robert Sorge in Asbury Park, New Jersey, the only naturopathic doctor that's approved in New Jersey, works with stars and different people. So I was working with these people and training with these people, learning all this information. So it became part of who my ministry was, because I believe, that we had to make the connections spiritually. We had to make the connections mentally, emotionally, because we know that stress and bitterness and anger contributes to disease. And there's always a mental connection to disease that we discovered. And then, of course, you have to do the nutritional, chemical, exercise, diet. You got to put the whole package together. So during that time, we were really starting to put those things together. And so, I was being mentored by these people, studying and reading what I call the old guys that started this stuff over 100 years ago. Dr. Arrett and these different guys that were just Bernard Jensen, just so many people out there that I was learning from and training from. And so then that's how I ended up, because I like to read and study, I ended up, going to Hallelujah Acres, became a certified Hallelujah Acres health minister. And then, we basically went back to a Life Science Institute. In fact, it was I don't know if you ever heard of the book Fit for Life by the Maryland Diamonds. I went through an institute that they had, and got a life science practitioner degree in nutrition, and then went to the School of Natural Healing and studied natural healing to become a vitalist and certified herbalist. So I just was hungry for the knowledge, because after we began to, find success, through connecting all the dots, spiritual, physical, mental, emotionally, we were excited about sharing this with other people. So it just kind of birthed into really who we are today, because, after we pastored churches, we basically retired from that aspect of the ministry and ran a alternative healthcare spirit, mind, body clinic for several years up in Martinsville, Virginia, before we closed it down and moved to North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, to enjoy the beach life. But that journey, I guess, us being interested in overcoming our own sicknesses and diseases and our health challenges. Her dad, Jody's dad, had died of cancer, and she was worried, am I going to die of cancer? So, it sparked our interest. And of course, once I started losing weight and getting in shape, that was even more exciting for me, because I'd struggled all my life with it, as far as that goes. But so it's been an exciting journey, for us to kind of just learn all about connecting all the dots of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love that. You started out with the vision to love on and help other people with their spiritual well-being, counseling, really help them get better. But as you continue down your own journey, you realize that it's more than just, of course, we want to emotionally feel better, but often that, like, it all comes full circle.
Yes.
And I love that your work now is driven from this personal experience, because we know that a why is typically born out of a blessing or a burden, and you've experienced this transformation yourself, which is like now overflows out of you, and you want to share it with everybody else. I want to ask you about the emotional connection to weight loss or health, because you are somebody that didn't just go into the medical field, learn X, Y, and Z about medicine. You are somebody that started on the emotional journey with people, helping them to grow, but yet you connected it then to overall health. What have you learned about that?
Yes. Gosh, the emotional attachment to weight loss is huge. There's several factors that go on. Number one, people that are holding on to things cannot release things from their life, like bitterness or strife, anger, self-judgment, whatever it is that you're holding on to. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, a great preacher from years ago, he's passed away, but if you lived during my generation, he was the Joel Osteen of the day, and his writings were just beautiful, wonderful man. And he started bringing in the medical doctors and the psychiatrists, the psychologists into a center, and they began to work with people, on the spiritual, physical, mental, emotional levels. And one of the things that I had discovered, and when I ran my clinic and working with people, is that you always are going to find, usually there's something when people aren't losing weight or they're not able to overcome some kind of health challenge, it's usually something emotional going on inside of them that is keeping them bottled up, so to speak. Disease means you're not at ease. So our goal, my goal as the counselor, someone that's helping someone, is we got to get you calmed down. We've got to get your emotions calmed down. We got to get you healed spiritually and mentally and emotionally, because, you can go out here and eat good and run and jog, but, it's just like if you're eating your meal and you're angry and you're upset, you're going to get indigestion. It's not going to digest properly, and you're going to get nauseous. You're not going to get, it's been proven if you sit down to eat a meal, you need to be calm, cool, and relax and enjoy it and make it kind of a love affair when you're eating, not being in a hurry and all this kind of stuff. So I think the emotional connection is just huge in people being healthy overall, because when I was running my practice, I used to have a little reference book that I use. And it was amazing. Like the left side of your body can indicate female issues going on in your life, right side male. I used to think that was kind of hocus pocus bogus. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. But then when I started, me and my wife, I experienced it first because I was in a car accident and it hurt blew this collarbone apart. I had to have 2 surgeries, and 2-3 years after the surgery, I was still having a lot of pain and discomfort, and didn't like taking drugs, to help. And I do everything I knew herbally to do. But I started putting together, my left side, my shoulder. And at that time in my life, I was going through some very challenging times with some things that were going on in our life professionally, and even some things that were going on in my mom and my dad. They were on the last leg of their life. So shoulders have to do with carrying the burdens of life, and left side was female, and I was having issues with my mom and with this person at work, so everything. And so I had to go back and teach myself to, number one, quit telling the story, quit talking about why I was upset and why I went through this. And so I had to make the emotional connections. And just as soon as I did, and I shut up, quit talking about it, I call it, you got to quit telling the old story, start telling the new story, and start beating the drum of the past and start beating the drum of what it is that you're wanting. The next thing you know, you start changing. Within just a week, the pain went out of my shoulder and it was gone. And then Jody was like, oh, this is just a bunch of bull. And so then about a year later in the office, she ended up, we don't ever really get sick anymore. She ended up with some type of infection in her bladder, urinary tract. She was at home in bed, not feeling well. And we started helping her connect all those emotional dots. And part of what we had to leave our town where we had lived for 12 years, where all of our kids were, moved to Martinsville, take care of a parent who was dying with cancer. And, our whole life just switched up and down. We had been with our family our whole life. My kids were my praise and worship team. We did everything together, for our whole life. And then all of a sudden, boom, that all changes. Well, she had just never really grieved or ever got it out of her system. And it was interesting. She was in bed with a fever, sick. And as soon as she realized, that it was okay to cry, be mad, a little upset, and accept, the fact that, our life had changed. The next day she was out of bed. And then 2 days later, she was back in the office with me. Just like flipping the switch. And we had been doing everything we needed to do nutritionally, the apple, lemon juice and cranberry juice. And we were taking the antibiotic herbs. We were doing everything we needed to do nutritionally, but I had to make the connection mentally. She did. And that made her a believer after that. But there is always an emotional, mental connection to everything that we do, because success, just like success, if you don't have the right mindset to be successful, you're not going to be successful.
Do you have any cool stories from your alternative healthcare center days where somebody came in super stuck and was able to move through and see transformation?
Yeah, on several. I mean, if you want weight loss or just personal life, I can give you all kinds of things. I'd be sitting. I had a lady who had been trying to lose weight her whole life, was morbidly obese, probably over 300 pounds. But her problem was that she had a lot of self-image problems. She come across as a very outgoing, gregarious, happy-go-lucky person, but inside, we find out she had been abused, she had been made fun of, and she had been holding on to a lot of things. And so we brought her into the center, and we put her on the complete program. We did the spiritual inventory, mental inventory, emotional inventory. We set up affirmations. We helped her forgive herself and forgive the people who had been negative towards her. We had to reprogram her mind, and we had to teach her to release, and to relax and let go of that stuff, And then we started working with her on the nutritional level, and we got her doing some passive exercise machine that we had in the office. And man, the next thing you know, she had lost 100 pounds.
Wow.
First time in her life she had ever been able to to lose weight, because she had tried all the programs and the diets and the shake programs. It was like me when I was coming up through this industry, the health and wellness industry. I tried every kind of program there was. I think the first one I ever tried that was called the Cambridge diet. It was real popular back in the 90s. And it was just basically, drinking a couple of shakes a day with some vitamins and eating one meal a day. And, so every time something would come out, I was interested in it, but that was one case, of someone who just all their life struggled to lose weight, and she just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, and she stayed with us over a year in the center, and her progress, I mean, it was unreal. And she was a changed person. I mean, she'd come into the office, where before, she was kind of gregarious, but now it was like she had a whole new purpose in life, and she started going out and helping people, serving people. She was joining these organizations, getting active again socially in the community. It just opened up a whole new world for her.
I'm interested that you just mentioned this, because I do find that so much of health is also your identity. Like, in a sense, like, I have always been big, so I'm just big. And so I find that if they lose weight or they see success and their identity doesn't match, then they'll just go back, because like we always say, you're not going to out-earn your personal development, in a sense. Like, if you don't believe you're worth more or whatever, like, you're never going to earn that. But that's true with health. If you see yourself in a certain way, your identity has to shift as well in order for you to see the results in your health.
Absolutely.
You talked about affirmations. How does that link together?
Well, the affirmations are part of reprogramming your mind and your body, so to speak. We always say, as a man thinks, what a person says is what you're thinking today and what you're eating today is going to make who you are tomorrow. It's a combination of both. And so, as a man thinks, so he is, and we always tell people, don't be hung by your tongue, because so many people, I call it prophesying. They walk around all day, and if you're negative and you're always saying, nothing, I never win anything, I never have any good luck, well, that's what you are creating. What you're speaking is what you're creating. And one of the things that I learned many, many years ago was that another reason why we tell people to do the affirmations, we say, state your goals in positive affirmations, state your life, in positive affirmations, and we call those things that be not as though they are. And, and some people say, well, that's just crazy. No, I mean, you have to have the goal, you got to have the vision, and then you start speaking the vision and the goals. And we always tell people, you need to speak them too. Affirmations can be read, but they're meant to be spoken. And one of the interesting things that I learned many, many years ago is that every nerve in the body passes through the vocal cords and also the feet. And when you speak, your vocal cords are vibrating through your whole body and your whole nerve, and it's talking to the whole body. When you're talking to your whole body, your whole electrical system that runs through your body. And so this is part of the program. When you're talking to yourself, not only mentally, but on the cellular level, you're creating I call it a vibration, a new sense of energy, whatever you want to call it. God made us with the brain that's electrical, and it shoots energy through our body. So whatever you want to call it, I don't care. Some people get hung up over names. I don't know how to explain, but this is the way it is, and it's just exciting, when you start training yourself to stop. Like with me, I had to quit talking about what I'd gone through in my life that led up to the accident that caused me to have all this pain and sadness in my life. And I had to shut up and quit talking about it, and I had to start writing the news story and talking about what it was that I wanted. I had to forget, and let go of some things, and so that's why affirmations are so important, is because what you're speaking is what's going to come to pass sooner or later. It might not be soon, it might be later, but you are developing the vibration of your life. You're creating yourself, by your thoughts and by what you're saying. And it's just been proven over and over and over and over again, that if you're negative and speaking negative, you're just going to get more of the same. But if you're happy and enthusiastic, and next thing you know, people that start showing up in your life are happy and enthusiastic, because unhappy people want to be around unhappy people. And happy people want to be around happy people. Successful people like being around successful people. We don't like being around, we can be nice to people. We're not better than anyone in the sense of wealth of a human being. And I can love you, but I don't have to hang out with you because you're just going to pull me down, and I'm not going to be able to pull you up. So we can be friends, shake hands, but that's why sometimes in life to change, you have to change what you speak, what you say, what you're affirming or not affirming in your life, and even changing friends and family and getting away from people that are always saying negative things, and get on the internet and and stuff like that. Just like I don't block I don't block friends, but I take them out of my news feed, unfollow them, and don't get any notifications from my friends that are always moaning, groaning, and complaining about politics and all that kind of stuff, because I don't want that in myself, then the next thing you're speaking all this mess, and what does that do to you? It just makes you feel what? It just brings you down.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. You have just delivered several value bombs that, aha moments for me. And if you're listening, check out drstanphd.com, because he has an ebook. He's got services. You can contact him. There's lots of success stories, testimonies, and his plan on there. So definitely check that out. Now, I want to transition into something else that you have mentioned previous when I was talking to you, which is genetics. And I think because we're learning that you truly do become what you think about, your identity, your emotional health will transfer into the physical health. An example real quick is when I was doing my weight loss journey myself, every time I saw results on the scale, I took a minute and I owned it. And I said, I feel so amazing. This is who I am. I feel energized. I feel strong. I feel confident in front of a camera. I feel like I tried to change my identity in the process, because I didn't want to just hit a goal and then bounce right back up because my mind, wasn't with me. So I intentionally try to take my mind on this journey too. But let's talk about genetics, because I know a lot of people will say, my family's overweight, it's in my genes. But is that true?
Well, all the research that I have studied, and I do a lot of research and study people who do research the right way, not just, based on a few studies or a footnote that leads you to an article that didn't do any kind of research at all. That's what's out there today. But from everything that I can see from genetic studies, 1% of your genes kind of determines who you are, and what you're predisposed to have or not have. So you're talking about 1%. So 99% of your life is in your control, is the way I tell people. And so does genes have a part? Well, absolutely. If you're going to look like your mom or your dad, or a combination of the two, the hair, there's going to be features, even personality things come through because you grow up with them and you live with them. But most of what we inherit is lifestyle. What we inherit is the ways of our family, of our social environment. I call it social environmental influences. Who you've been around, who's been influencing you socially, whether it's educational, religion, politics. These things shape who we are, and that's kind of what, like with us, part of our story. I used to think because mom had allergies and she had health problems, and dad had bursitis and arthritis, that I was going to have it. And because their grandma had it, and, heart disease ran into the family. And so, people are like, well, it's just in your genes. And well, no, what it was like in our journey with Jody and I, when we did something as simple as change our life, what we thought was genetic was actually a lifestyle. We had inherited I'm a Southern boy. If you haven't picked up on my Southern accent, I grew up in the South in Virginia, and Jody in North Carolina, and we've lived in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina all along. We're the greasy food, fast food belt of the country. We grew up with, eating fat back and food, and we cooked with fat back and then cooked everything in fat back. We just had these white biscuits and, white flour, and then we started with the junk foods. And so we inherited lifestyles. And so it was interesting when we made a change in our diet, then all of a sudden, 39 years later, we don't have the colds, we don't have the flus, we don't have the allergies, we don't have the problems that our parents had, the problems that I had, I got rid of not because I changed my genes, but it was because I changed my lifestyle. And so, yes, we're not discounting genes, but we're talking about 1%. And even if you have a weakness, a pool in your body genetically that could be identified, most of that can be overcome with a proper lifestyle. This connecting the spiritual, the physical, the mental, the emotional, and everything else. Because I've known people, how many people have we known that have lived longer than the doctor said they could because they had the right mental attitude, or they sent them home to die, and 20 years later they're still living. I mean, I knew this is a documented case. It's very well known throughout the health and nutrition wellness industry. A man was sent home to die. So he went to the store, rented all the Three Stooges VHS videos back when it was tapes, and he literally went home and laughed his way back to health. And he died a normal life. He lived a normal life after that, just by learning how to get a better attitude and laugh about things and get more energy. And so I think a lot of times in life, we live in a society that likes to blame a germ. We like to blame we don't take personal responsibility. That's what it boils down to. We live in that type of society. And medically, people are trained to think, well, if I get something, I can just go to the doctor. He can give me a pill, and that'll take care of it. I used to have that mindset. Well, if I get sick, I'll just go to the doctor, and he'll give me a magic bullet, and we'll take the pill. But what I didn't realize was it wasn't healing anything. It was just damming up the healing process. It didn't really heal anything. But that's what we've been trained to think, is that we don't want to have to take responsibility for our health. No, it's like, oh, I'm smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Well, you're going to pay for that sooner or later. If you're eating junk food all day, you're going to pay for that sooner or later, because, yes, some people can get away with smoking and live to be 100, but the odds are against you. And so, I think it's so important for people to understand that, genetics are a part of life, but it's not a death sentence. It's not the last word, is what I always tell people, because there's so many that we've got the 99% in our hands that we can control, which to me, that's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you always say, what is more prevalent, like the environment or genetics? Which one is the most influential? And the thing is with families is the environment is often drinking pop, or having white bread, or having a bag of chips while you're watching TV at night. Like, if that's the environment, that's probably more of the problem than the genetics in itself.
Yes.
So I'm really curious, because I have 2 boys. Their ages almost 7 and 4. And if I want to break the habit of obesity, which I say as a habit that runs in my family, what are some things that as a parent I can do to implement healthy choices with my family? Because you raised kids and was going through this process yourself. So what are some things that you did?
Well, number one, we educated our children. We tried to sit down and explain to them the best that they could at the time, because it was a pretty radical change. When I went to that seminar and came home, it was the first church I was pastoring. We were in rural Virginia, and man, I took one of my sons with me, and he heard the workshop, and he was kind of into, all right, let's do this, Dad. And then we came home, but then luckily I recorded it on a cassette player so that Jody could listen to it. And we started reading and studying, finding the books, So we tried to make it a family thing. We were always real family oriented. So we would sit down and talk about it, and try to inform them, this is why we're doing it. And try to get them excited about, the fact that we're doing this, not because we're trying to hold something from you. We're trying to help you, not hurt you. We're not trying to take away. We're trying to add. And so we try to stay as positive with it as we could, and not use it as a way to punish them or make them feel bad. Because how many times does a kid sit down at the table and your mom says, eat your spinach? Well, I don't want the spinach, that type of thing. Even with people that are not eating healthy, so to speak. So that was part of it. And then the other part of it is we would always look for the healthy substitute foods, like we would still buy some chips for them to have a snack every once in a while with, but we would make sure they were the kind of chips, that were made with a better oil, the sea salts, and something that was organic and natural. But that was a treat. It wasn't, something that we did every day. Or, like the cereals, we would, instead of buying the Cocoa Puffs and all the sugary cereals, we would find in the health food store, and we had to start shopping in a health food store. We had to start looking for the substitutes. It's like there's gummy bears that are made with organic ingredients and organic cane sugars, instead of synthetic artificial stuff. And again, we didn't do a whole lot of that, but still we wanted them to know that we could still, do pizza. We just made pizza healthy. A lot of times we use the Ezekiel wraps for the bottom of the pizza, and we would get our Ezekiel wraps and bake them up a little bit, and then we put our healthy ingredients on top of the Ezekiel wrap, so they were still getting able to have pizza, and we even found, healthy versions of hot dogs. We found healthy versions of everything is out there today, and today it's even much better than it was when we were doing it. Now there's so many healthy options. I mean, if you want healthy options, every grocery store is starting to add them now. I mean, before we had to drive an hour and a half to a place to find these alternatives, but we tried to make dinner as delicious and as enticing. And that's why you have to do your homework and learn how to cook and make dishes that are appealing and, and healthful to them. And we would, like I said, come up with the alternative things. But, the other thing we had to do was we had to get rid of all the junk out of the house. If it's, it's just like Jody, she likes chips. If they're in the house, she's going to eat them, and I'm a sweet person. I don't eat refined sugar of any type, but if there's even something healthy that's sweet, I'm going to go get it, but if it's not there, I can overcome it, So we had to empty out the cupboards, get rid of the junk foods, get rid of the things that were temptations to us and to them, and then give them some substitutes, because, there are, there's whole grain crackers, there's whole grain type snacks. If the kids are wanting those types of things, there are amazing alternatives now, from everything from, to vegan options that are very, plant-based, to even some that are, they're not necessarily vegan or whatever, but they're still, whole grain or whole complex and stuff like that. That's better than them eating, the junk stuff. I mean, even when we had birthday cakes, we made our own birthday cakes. We got the whole grain, birthday cake mixes and sugar-free icings, and they were good. We learned how to make them good. There's always still people, there is life after death, and you'll and you'll be amazed at a lot of the things that they do. And with time, like with us, there's just things they wouldn't eat. I wouldn't eat because they make me sick now, or they'll tear me up on. I can eat it, and an hour later, I shouldn't have ate that.
How many kids do you have?
We had 3. Got
three?
3 and 5 grandkids. Yeah.
Aw. Well, and it's truly parent training as well.
Yes.
My son just had a Valentine's Day party, and the teacher told us what to bring for snacks. She said fruit, vegetables, yogurt, applesauce, and we signed up as parents to bring these specific things. And I thought it was so helpful, because if you're going to tell parents, bring a snack for Valentine's Day party, 99% of parents are going to buy cookies at the local grocery store with tons of frosting and tons of sugar, because that's the kind of ingrained in our society right now that's what you do to celebrate. And so I realized in that experience that the kids didn't care. They thought it was delicious. They ate it all. And it's teaching the parents how to celebrate without all of the sugar and create new habits so that it truly can trickle down.
Absolutely. That's key. Parents have got to learn how to do it. And there's just so much you can do as a parent, to help your kids understand this and get them on board and get them excited about it, and not again, take away from it. It's like we had birthday cakes, we had pizza parties, we did those things, but we did them in, a healthy version. And like you said, most of the kids, we even had people come over, we didn't even tell them they were eating healthy. They didn't know any different.
Uh-huh.
They
I'm absolutely making personal Ezekiel wrap pizzas tonight because it also gets the kids involved. They can put it on themselves. They can be a part of the process and really enjoy it, which I know when I'm cutting up vegetables, my children love to help and they eat the vegetables while they're helping, and it gets them in part of the process.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay, so you said something that I think is hilarious, and you might not even have realized you said it. I want to go
Never
into
know
this.
What I'll say, yeah.
You said we did something as simple as changing our life. And changing your lifestyle. All you did was change your lifestyle. No big deal.
No big deal.
But that's what you teach people to do now. And at the end of it, it really is simple. It may seem overwhelming at first, but it truly is one habit at a time. So when you're working with clients and doing consulting now, what are some first things that you have people do?
Well, the first thing I tell people, is we got to get you off your worst habits. And I find out just, some people are able, like me, I get the information, I flip the switch and I go with it. Some people need to go in increments, baby steps, and some people need to transition slower than other people. So the first thing I try to find out with people is where their mindset is and how I can help them to go from A to Z. Some people want to go to A to Z like me. I want to get anywhere I want to go. I want to get there fast, so I don't want to do the in between. Let me figure out how to get there fast. But, for most people, they need to educate themselves and learn. Some people do. Some people just say, tell me what to do and I'll do it. Everybody has different personalities. So, that's one of the things you have to do when you're dealing with people is listen. And so I listen to people and try to find out where they are. But the basics are very simple, like you said. Basically what we're doing is, number one, is getting people off of refined, artificial, man-made, manufactured foods that are laced with chemicals and preservatives and nitrates, everything that the Cancer Society and everybody will tell you, don't eat these things. They can create cancer in your life, but we continue to manufacture them and sell them out there in the marketplace. So I tell people first, let's start eliminating the big ones like refined sugar. Are they drinking sodas? Are they drinking, even diet drinks? That's number one. We need to get you off of those things. We need to get you drinking more water. That's simple things like that for some people, but you got to get off of the refined sugar. I tell them you got to get off refined carbs, the white flours and the white pasta and the white rice. You need to switch over to whole grains, is what I encourage people to do. I mean, it's like the Ezekiel breads and the Ezekiel wraps are perfect foods. They're flourless, they're whole grain, they're complete proteins. It's just a wonderful food. It's the bread, the formula that Ezekiel lived on in the Bible, for a year. He didn't eat anything but this formulation of Ezekiel bread, which is pretty cool. But we try to educate them and make them realize that you got to get off of the refined stuff. And I try to teach people to eat foods the way God made them. As close to the way that God made them. You really can't improve on an apple. You really can't improve on broccoli or something that the way that God made it. The problem is when man tries to manufacture it and put it into packaging so it can sit on a truck and sit in a warehouse for years with a 5-10 year expiration date on it, which is why produce is they don't make any money on produce. All the money in the grocery store is made on the canned goods and the retail goods on the inside of the store, because they're the ones that are pickled and preserved and can sit on the shelf forever. Well, those same things that are sitting on the shelf that are pickled and preserved, if you eat them, they're going to pickle and preserve you. And you're going to be, eating the chemicals and the preservatives and all that and all the refined stuff. So that's unnatural. And so my first goal is just trying to help people realize, okay, you still want to eat a sandwich. Well, can we get you to use an Ezekiel wrap or some type of, whole grain instead of eating, the white flour bread, instead of the white rice? Let's switch you over to brown rice and wild rice. We're just going to substitute. You're still getting rice. It's just going to be brown instead of white, and so sugar, we're going to, encourage people, if you need the sugar, we just teach people, if you're using it for recipes, you could use something like stevia or a little bit of raw honey or a good grade of maple syrup, that hadn't been messed with for sweetening aspects. There's always something that nature provided for us in its original state that was messed up by man in the manufacturing state. And we just try to teach people to go back to that very simple thing. Eat foods that will spoil, rot, and go bad. Eat foods that are not refined and chemicalized. And if you always tell people, if you read the label and you're speaking in a foreign language, it's probably not food, and that's a good way to teach people, in the beginning. Let's get you off this refined stuff. Let's get you off of the things that we know are obviously, like soda. Most people know that they don't need to drink 2-3 liters of Coke or Mountain Dew a day. So for some people, that's where I start with them, Matt. I got to start where they can start, because some people, especially Diet Coke, I've gotten people off of Diet Coke, and that's one of the meanest drinks to get off of. People go, because of the aspartame in it and everything, they will get headaches, migraines, just get withdrawal symptoms from Diet Coke, because it's a Diet Coke was formulated by the tobacco industry. The people that own the tobacco industry own the diet drink companies, and they learn how to make formulas, same way with cereals, with chemicals that make us addicted to the chemicals. It's like if you go to McDonald's all the time, you'll begin to get addicted to the chemicals in the food. And if you stop eating it, you'll start getting headaches.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it is.
A few things that I want to point out. Number one, starting with the worst habits. Like really taking the big thing and focusing on that first until it becomes because that's going to really make movement in your life. If you're drinking no water and you really start drinking water and taking away the Diet Coke, you will see a difference. If you're eating no vegetables and you start adding vegetables to dinner and to lunch, you'll start seeing a difference. And then I've learned this too, Dr. Stan, and it cracks me up. If there's a commercial for it, you probably shouldn't eat it. And then only walk around the perimeter of the store, right? Because all of the boxed and canned and things that are in the middle. And so we want fresh fruits, vegetables, whole foods, God-made foods, that kind of thing.
Right.
All right. Well, I want to transition to one other story, because you recently you and Jody again together did a bodybuilding competition and transformed your bodies yet again. Can you tell us what did you do? How did you do that?
Well, we got started, because, after I left the ministry to go to Virginia and take care of my parents, we moved to the beach, and we had been pretty much in a confined lifestyle for about 7 or 8 years. And so when we got to the beach, we were going out to eat. People were visiting with us. So, it was just one big party for about 4 years. I mean, we were just having a good time because we lived at the beach. And everybody wants to come and see you at the beach, So our business partners, business friends, and family, friends, we were just having, so you go out, they want to go out. So you end up, and going out to eat all the time, it's just hard to eat real healthy that way. We had a good time, but it was time to reel it in. And we were on a cruise together, and I came off the ship in November of, I guess it was 16. And I told Jody enough is enough. We hired a personal trainer, Marcia Prince, who was actually Miss Universe Bikini in 2007. And she transitioned. She was a very popular model for many, many, many years. And she used to be in a business that we were in together, actually. And she wasn't in it any longer, but I connected with her on Facebook. And she was advertising, personal training. And I kind of said, hey, do you train guys, even though you're a woman, She said, sure, I train guys. I said, I know what to do. I just need somebody to be accountable to. Accountability is huge, and I needed someone that was going to say, I had to report into her, and give my weight and my measurements and my statistics. So I needed that accountability. And so we started out in the program with her, and we had great success. I was losing all this weight. Uh, she was teaching us how to do basically a plant-based type of diet, because that's what I was interested in. I asked her, I said, can you teach me how to get in shape on a high nutrient plant-based diet? And she said, sure, that's what I do. She had kind of transitioned from traditional to plant-based in her career also. And so I started losing all this weight, and right about the spring or early summer, I kind of hit a wall, and I really wasn't losing anymore. And I said, do you have any kind of program we can kind of tweak it so I can because I wanted to tweak it down a little bit more, And she said, sure, I'll put you on a competition diet. And I said, okay. And she said, and since we're putting on your competition diet, we might as well see if you can do a competition. And I said, well, that wasn't on the bucket list, or the goal list, I mean, I'd thought about it probably years ago, 25 years ago, when I was working out with my friend I was telling you about, because he had tried to compete. And I said, well, maybe when I'm 50 or something, I could compete. And that was just a passing, comment. So that wasn't on my dream board. That wasn't on my bucket list. And she said, and so then Jody says, well, if you're going to do it, I guess I'll do it with you. And because we're a we team, everybody says, who's we? It's just me and Jody. And so she decided to do it. So she got on a competition diet, and we dialed her in. And so we started, as you know what it's like, we started dialing it in and walked on the stage on October 21st of this past year. And Jody entered the bikini division for her age group, which was actually not really her age group. It was 45 plus. She wanted a 50 plus, but they didn't have it. I was in the 50 plus masters bodybuilding contest. And I was hoping that I was kind of bummed out, because you're competing against people almost 10 years younger than me, because I turned 60 next month. And so, but we both walked off the stage that day, both first place in our age division for bodybuilding and bikini contest. So that was it was fun. I mean, it was hard work. You know what it is to do that. Not many people know that experience, but it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of work to do something like that. But, it was a lot of fun because it got us back in shape to the place where, my goal was by the time I was 60, I would be in the best shape of my life that I could be at age 60. So I kind of hit that goal early, about 5 months earlier than I had planned, because I'd never really last year expected to be we started in November of 16, and I was on the stage 11 months later.
Wow. Now, were you eating primarily plant-based before?
All we did was, yes, before we had done different things. Before, when we got off the boat, I was eating pretty much kind of a low-carb lifestyle, a healthy low-carb lifestyle. And I wouldn't say low-carb in the sense of I wasn't eating carbs, but I was mostly just eating, lean proteins or proteins that weren't fried or deep fried or battered and all that, and just eating mostly fruits and vegetables and no starches, that type of thing diet. But it really, I'd still gained a bunch of weight doing all of that. In fact, my numbers from the doctor weren't very good at all when I was doing that. And that was another motivation for me, because I wasn't needing any medication, but he says, if you're on the line now where if you keep going in the direction you're going to end up with some sugar problems, blood pressure problems, because my blood pressure had elevated, my cholesterol. And so that was another reason why I was really interested in a hard, healthy, plant-based diet, because I really knew that would lower my cholesterol and get my numbers in line better than anything that I was doing at the time. And so we went pretty much 100% plant-based, during that transitional time. I think we did a little bit of fish during the transition. Called it pescatarian for a little bit, but my goal was to get to plant-based, because I really did want to go on stage as a, plant-based bodybuilder, because, I was in some circles where that would was popular and made a lot of new friends in that world. And it was really fun and exciting learning about plant-based bodybuilders and how muscular and strong they are, and the myths of people saying you can't be a bodybuilder and not eat all this meat and stuff. But we did it. And we basically, when I went back to the doctor, I dropped my cholesterol 100 points. I dropped my blood pressure. My sugar was normal. Everything he said, well, you're pretty much probably saved your life, by doing this, So it was a health journey as much as it was, fitness. Because, being the bodybuilder standing on stage, that was way out of our comfort zone. I mean, that's, from firsthand, you're getting up there and showing your stuff, so to speak, and it's normal when you're there on stage. Everybody there's doing it's normal. But, when you got friends and family watching you, it's kind of very uncomfortable for them and us, but hey, it's a sport, they don't think anything of it when they watch the Olympics and people are in their Speedos and competing. People don't think about it, but it was a wild journey, but it paid off for us because, it got us in the best shape of our life, and we feel better now than we have in years.
Awesome. Yes, I know you certainly don't need to do a bodybuilding competition in order to see awesome results, but when you push past your comfort zone and you kind of go to one extreme, you really do learn a lot. And then the goal is to have more of a lifestyle fitness plan where you can go out to eat and you can celebrate with your friends and have a glass of wine, but yet your base is nutrient-dense food. And I know if you go to drstanphd.com, you'll find his Genesis Diet and then the Genesis Diet Cookbook, which I'm really interested in because you've taken everything that you have learned and you've put it in an ebook to teach others how to do it as well.
Yeah, the Genesis Diet is basically, it goes back to what I basically teach, what I call the Genesis 129 diet. And I try to teach people the more that we can live in the Garden of Eden, the original home of mankind, fresh air, sunshine, drinking clear water, that's not polluted, and an environmentally safe environment, without any of the pollutants, and eating a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables and super green foods and nuts and seeds. That was kind of, what, we were, if you believe in the Bible and the scriptures and things like that, that was the original diet. There's nothing you can do to kind of argue with that. And then we always tell people, if you want to eat meat, it's fine. That's your choice. There's no sin in eating meat. God allowed it, after Genesis chapter 9. But it was interesting, though, that I always tell people, isn't it interesting, though, that people don't live as long now after the fall as they did? I mean, not the fall, but after the flood, after God said, okay, it's okay to eat meat and dairy or whatever, it's okay. You can do that. But isn't it interesting that the lifespans started going from 700 or 800, 900 years to 120 years, to where now we're down to about, 75 on average, probably, for a man and woman, if you want to combine them both, But again, it's lifestyle. And I'm not saying you have to be a vegan or a vegetarian or anything like that. I mean, God doesn't make diet shouldn't be a point of contention. We have freedom. Some people will have a glass of wine, some people won't. It's not my place to judge anyone in those areas. But I think the more we get back to God's original diet, the more we eat things the way Mother Nature gives them to us in a non-refined, non-processed way, the healthier we're going to be. Because one of my mentors, Dr. Jeffrey Life, who is pushing 80 right now, looks like, his body looks amazing. He looks like a professional bodybuilder and is in the great shape of his life. In fact, he was one of the people that inspired me to do the transformation that I wanted to do. I always wanted to get back in shape. I just didn't realize I was going to do the bodybuilding thing, but he was a great source of inspiration for me. And, he just eats a very healthy whole food diet. It's just like eating organic meats and organic dairies, such a better choice, than eating conventional foods out there, So the more natural you can eat, the better off you're going to be.
I love that. Well, you have lived a full life, and it's certainly just getting started in a lot of areas with your new connections in the vegan bodybuilding world and plant-based and all of the things that you're doing. But you have started off as a counselor working at a children's hospital and went to leading alternative healthcare center and helping transform people on the inside out, spirit, mind, body, connecting all of the dots. And what would you say is your current life purpose?
My mantra has been, and will be until it changes, that is to help people to be healthy, wealthy, happy, and free. I mean, every day when I get up, that's my own personal affirmation. I'm healthy, wealthy, happy, and free. And I want to be able to inspire, educate, motivate, and help others to be healthy, wealthy, happy, and free. That is my mission statement. That is who I am, what I like to do. And so any way that I can do that through counseling, speaking, workshops, seminars, anything I can do to spread the word like that, to help people, that's what it, and I guess that's part of the old preacher pastor in me, because I love doing pastoring and preaching. But that's just so confining, and churches have different, they're much more in this system, and I got to get out the system. I guess I always tell people now, why don't you pastor that? So, well, I guess I'm more of an evangelist now. I like to go out and be an ambassador for Christ, that can proclaim and preach and teach, without the church getting all upset, because I'm teaching about, because you'd be surprised. I always used to kid around, and when it comes to health and nutrition, in some Baptist circles, I said, talking to some people about health and nutrition is like talking to a Baptist to start speaking in tongues. They're going to go crazy, and so I always found with Christians, I don't smoke, I don't chew, I don't do this and that. Now you're going to mess with my food, and it's like food is very emotional, and it becomes, because it is, because you eat it and you're a part of your life. It's a part of it. And people get attached to foods, addicted to foods even, and most of the foods that most people are emotional because they're addicted to it. You start coming off of Diet Coke, you're going to pay a price. You're going to detox. I mean, that's going to happen, and so it's just, I don't know, thought process here, but I just think it's so important for people, to connect all these dots and understand, that I'm trying to help people on such a bigger scale that, the church has its purpose. It's like, I love Joel Osteen, and he said something years ago that I heard him in a radio broadcast or TV, and he said one of the most profound things that resonated with me, and even Brandon said something that's very close to it. But he said, he was being interviewed by Larry King, and Larry says, why don't you preach against this or teach about this or speak against this or have a stand on that? And he said, Larry, that's not my ministry. I know what I have been called to do. What I am doing and what I am saying is what I'm called to do. I let other people deal with those areas. This is my area. And so that's kind of where I'm at. Joel, he knew who he is. He knows what his mission and purpose is, and he sticks with it, and he doesn't vary from it. So that's kind of where, I got to my place. It's like, that was great. I love pastoring, don't get me wrong. And I used to love to teach and to preach and shepherd, and I was good at it. I used to rebuild churches, used to love to go into a church that was down and out and rebuild it and rejuvenate it. I just love doing that, but, now it's just much more expansive. You just got to know what you're doing in life and hone in on it. And that's kind of where we're at in our life, is not just teaching me to do it, but helping other people do that also, because so many times people are caught in self-made cages. And they're like little birds that need to open up the door and give them permission to flap their wings and fly. And most people need that because they're so afraid to get outside the boxes of life. And so I think that's what I like to do, is kind of break the cages, break the boxes, break the paradigms, and help people maybe see a bigger, larger picture.
Awesome. Healthy, wealthy, happy, and free.
You got it. That's it.
All right. All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Stan, so much for spending some time with us, sharing your experience and wisdom. And for those that are interested in learning more about Dr. Stan and connecting with him, check out drstanphd.com. There are lots of resources, lots of stories, and direct email contact information so you can connect directly with him. So thanks again, Dr. Stan. We appreciate you. And
Thank you.
Have an amazing day.
You do the same. God bless.
Thank you so much for listening today. Head over to denisewalsh.com. Enter your email to subscribe to our list, and I will be sending out an early bird special coupon. 50% off, in fact, of the Dream Life Workbook when it is launched in just a few months. So if you want to have first dibs, let's get your name on that list. Thanks again. I so appreciate you. And remember to dream big.